Hello friends and potential friends. Yeah, nice cool early morning. Well, early for me, about 9:30. 67 degrees out here. I figured I'd come out and shoot a quick video before I go in for coffee, because it's been a week or week and a half since I did a garden walk around, and things are growing fast. For example, the catnip here, growing like crazy. The cats are loving it. Flowers are doing well. The pumpkin, or the pineapple and mulberry are doing good. I hope that doesn't grow much bigger, because I plan on taking it back to Florida with me. I've got mulberry cuttings down here. And look, a couple of these have got new growth on them. These are the ones in water, and I haven't seen any roots yet. But the fact that they're trying to make leaves is a good sign. Garden green stalk is doing pretty good. Basil, lettuce, a few unknowns. Mom's collecting cilantro seeds for coriander. Got some spinach coming up in here. And over in the kitchen garden, we've been eating Swiss chard and kale just about every day. The onions are doing good, the leeks, the chives back there, basil, eggplants are doing well. We've already eaten one, but we do have a few more coming on here. They're a little bit late. More about that in a minute. And this one, Better Boy tomato, is doing very well. This is what gave us our first ripe tomato of the year. And there's another one coming on down here pretty soon too. As you can see, it's kind of sprawling everywhere, but it's not taking up a lot of space in the bed. There's another one over here on this side that's starting to turn pink. We're going to be eating BLTs pretty soon. And back here in the main garden, things are taking off and going crazy. Mom's broccoli is looking good, nice and healthy. What we think is a broadleaf plantain is good and healthy. And tomatoes. A few weeks ago we were worried, thinking that things were kind of slow. We weren't sure if we were going to get any tomatoes this year. And I did some research. I went back looking at previous videos. Last year we got our first ripe Praxis cherry tomatoes on July 29th, or June 29th, I'm sorry. This year we didn't get our first ripe tomato until near the end of July. So, like many other people have been saying, things are going slow this year. But they're really taking off now. Now here's part of my dilemma. I brought, well, before I left Florida, I planted 6 yogurt cups with basil seeds. 2 of the sweet basil and 4 with different kinds of purple basil. Well, when I got to Idaho, I had 2 cups of sweet basil. That's what's up in the front garden. And 3 cups with tomatoes. And 1 cup with asparagus. The asparagus is right over there. This is one of the tomatoes. And I still don't know what kind of tomato this is. It's got almost a dozen tomatoes on it. The whole plant is pretty small. They don't look like garden peach. They certainly are not Praxis. And that's the only 2 tomatoes that I grew last year. These could be Floridad. or they could be homestead. That's about the size both of those get back in Florida. But I haven't grown either of those for at least 2 years. And then we have this guy over here. This thing, I don't know, the tomatoes are shaped like perhaps a yellow pear or a Roma. And I haven't grown, well, I've never grown yellow pears. The last time I grew Romas was about 3 years ago. But this was another volunteer in the soil that I've been reusing. Does that look like a Roma to you? They're pretty small, some of them, but there are some that are bigger. And the one right next to it is the same thing. Some kind of a pear-shaped tomato. I'm not spotting any of the fruit. Oh, there they are. There's some down in there. If I can get them out in the open where you can see them, I think you might get a glimpse at some of those. But they're shaped like a Roma, but I haven't grown Romas for a while. These down here are better boys. Some of them are looking pretty big and sprawling. But now, midway through August, we got tomatoes all over the place. And we're getting ripe ones pretty much every day too. This is one of the Praxis cherry tomatoes. And Cindy, these things tend to sprawl. I don't know how well they would be traveling around in a van, but they sure are good tomatoes. And I find up here in Idaho, they tend to get a little bit bigger usually than they do in Florida. But that's all one plant. Starts over there, comes across the bed, takes up the center of the bed here, and then spreads out into these other tomatoes. So no, I don't think they're good for a van lifer. Just a little bit too big a plant. Though you will get a lot of tomatoes. Here's the other one we've got down here, another Praxis. And as you can see, it's got tomatoes all over it. And it's sprawling all over at this end. By the way, this is part of it up here too. This one we put in a tomato cage, and that might have been a mistake because I have to try to get my hands in there to pick them. And more catnip. So that's the tomato situation. They were about a month late to start, and now they're going like gangbusters. There's another better boy right there that's looking nice size. Back over here, I've got to pick some more okra off of our dwarf okra plant. My friend Peanut is complaining because I have to bend over to pick okra. He has to bend the okra over to pick it. And we got more pumpkins starting up back here too. And some that are about ready to pick. One there, one over here. More new ones starting. A lot more new ones starting. I'm not seeing a lot of pollinators this morning. But I bet they're in here. Let me go look at some of these flowers. Yep, that one's got a bee in it. 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 So yeah, they're here. Yep, that one's got a bee in it too. Pollinators are here. They're just inside the flowers this morning. Got a couple more pumpkins over here on the side. And these are the pumpkin pie pumpkins. One of them is starting to change. And if I can still walk through here, got one more right down in here. Sunflowers down here are finally getting up above the pumpkins. Those I believe are either the Russian mammoth or the American giant or mammoth. So they better get moving too. And incidentally, we're going to have a lot of pumpkins growing out in the pasture too. This is where Mom threw the excess last year. And the excess are growing. They're growing all over the place out here. And there are more over on that end that I can't see from this angle. There's going to be a lot of pumpkins out there. And this guy, the giant, has got some still more squash bugs on it. I'm going to have to go get the neem oil again. But it's starting to change colors, it looks like. There's one of the spaghetti squash. Another spaghetti squash over there. And then we have what Mom's calling the jack-o'-lantern over here. Not a spaghetti squash. Doesn't look the same as that giant pumpkin, and it is much too big to be one of the pumpkin pie pumpkins. So we're not sure what that one is. But it's probably going to be good eating. And then just to make things even more confusing, we've got this guy down here, pretty small, hasn't grown very big, but it's kind of a blue-gray in color. And I'm not certain, but I think it is on the same vine as the big one over on the other side. So, I don't know what's going on around here anymore. They're still trying to make more pumpkins. Here's one clear out here next to the gate, or the fence. And then finally, we have our watermelon. It really doesn't have a chance of producing any fruit, although it is trying. There's a little tiny one right there, but there's not enough time for that to make a real watermelon. And then the sunflowers. Most of these on this end are actually a local weed, but the taller ones are sunflowers. They volunteered from what Mom grew last year. And here's the biggest one. And it has, I went through and counted, and there are about a dozen little blossoms starting up on this thing. That's going to be pretty soon. But that's the current state of the garden. My confusions. Oh, I forgot to mention the potatoes. Yep, potatoes are doing good too. Got a lot of blossoms. Hopefully they're making potatoes under there. And hey, look, there's a flower that doesn't have a bee in it. That's the first one I've seen this morning. But all the rest of them have them. And to be honest, I just saw one fly away from that one. That's why I pointed the camera at it. But that's the garden so far. I hope you enjoyed the view. Things are starting to take off. They're growing fast now, though they were definitely about a month late to get started. We are enjoying Praxis tomatoes. We've had a few of the better boys, and I'm looking forward to a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich pretty soon. Meanwhile, I'll see you next time.